Detective Sarah Miller stood in the elevator of Sterling Office Building, watching the numbers climb. 1, 2, 3. Her finger hovered over the button for the 7th floor. Something wasn't right about this case, and she could feel it in her bones. 3 days ago, the building's security guard had found Marcus Thompson, a senior accountant, dead in his office on the 7th floor. At first glance, it looked like a heart attack, a 45-year-old man working late, slumped over his desk. But the autopsy told a different story. Poison. The elevator dinged, and Sarah stepped onto the 7th floor. The whole level was quiet now, with police tape still marking Thompson's office door. She pulled out her small notebook and reviewed the facts. Marcus Thompson was found dead at 11:45 p.m. on Tuesday. Cause of death: poison in his evening coffee. 5 people were working late that night, all on the 7th floor. Security cameras on the floor had mysteriously stopped working between 9 p.m. and midnight. Thompson's computer showed he was working on a big financial report. Sarah walked down the empty hallway, her footsteps echoing. She had interviewed all 5 suspects yesterday, and their stories were swimming in her head. Jenny Parker, the young intern. I was just finishing some filing. Mr. Thompson was always nice to me, helped me learn the ropes. Robert Chen, fellow accountant. Sure, I was here late. Big deadline coming up. Thompson and I were working on the same report. Maria Santos, cleaning staff. I cleaned this floor every night. Yes, I saw Mr. Thompson. He was drinking coffee and typing when I passed his office at 9:30. David Wright, IT manager. I was fixing a network problem. Funny thing about those cameras going down, right? But I was in the server room most of the night. Lisa Thompson, the victim's wife. I brought him dinner around 8. He was stressed about some numbers that weren't adding up. Sarah stopped at Thompson's office door and ducked under the police tape. Everything was exactly as it had been found. Papers scattered across the desk, an empty coffee cup knocked over, and his computer still running. She sat in his chair and wiggled the mouse. The screen came to life, showing the financial report he'd been working on. As she scrolled through the numbers, something caught her eye. There were dozens of transfers to an offshore account, hidden in the company's books. Thompson had been cooking the books for years, stealing millions. But someone else's name was on those transfers too, Robert Chen. Sarah pulled out her phone and called the station. Get me everything you can on Robert Chen's finances. While waiting for the information, she examined the coffee cup more closely. There was a lipstick mark on the rim, dark red. She remembered Maria Santos had been wearing that exact shade during the interview. An hour later, Sarah had her answer. She gathered all 5 suspects in the conference room. Mr. Thompson wasn't just working late that night. He was trying to fix his mistakes. For 3 years, he and Mr. Chen had been stealing money from the company. But Thompson wanted out. He was going to confess everything. Robert Chen's face went pale. That's ridiculous. We found the offshore accounts, Mr. Chen. Thompson was going to turn himself in the next morning. You couldn't let that happen. But you needed help. Sarah turned to Maria Santos. That's where you came in. Maria's hands began to shake. I don't know what you're talking about. We found the messages on your phone. Chen promised you a share of the money if you helped him. You brought Thompson his usual evening coffee, wearing your signature red lipstick. But this time, you added something extra to his cup. The security cameras? Jenny Parker asked. Mr. Wright here was also involved. Chen paid him to disable the cameras during that specific time window. A perfect plan, except for one detail. Sarah held up Thompson's coffee cup in an evidence bag, Maria's lipstick on the cup. She normally just left the coffee on his desk, but that night she had to make sure he drank it. She took a sip first to make it look natural, leaving her lipstick mark. The room fell silent. Finally, Robert Chen broke down. Thompson was going to ruin everything. We worked too hard to set this up. I couldn't let him confess. In the end, it took less than an hour to get full confessions from Chen, Santos, and Wright. As Sarah watched them being led away in handcuffs, she thought about the real victim, not just Thompson, but the trust he had broken. Sometimes the biggest crimes weren't the final acts of violence, but the small choices that led there. Lisa Thompson approached her as she was leaving. "Thank you, Detective Miller. Marcus made terrible mistakes, but at least he was trying to make things right in the end." Sarah nodded, looking up at the 7th floor one last time. Every building had its secrets, but this one had finally given up its own. As she walked to her car, she was already thinking about her next case, but she knew she wouldn't forget the secrets of the 7th floor anytime soon.